Welcome to Books Without Borders. Today we're going to be reviewing The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Taking place less than 2 years after The Shadow of the Wind, The Prisoner of Heaven continues the story. Christmas is just around the corner, and Fermin Ramiro de Torres is about to get married. Despite that, Ferm's normally chipper nature has been on edge. During his shift at the bookshop, Daniel Sempier encounters a strange man who asks after Fermin. He becomes suspicious and confronts him. He finally shares his past. From 1939, he learns more about his horrifying past, including time spent in prison. At the bookshop, he met David Martin, the main character from The Angel's Game, and the man from the bookshop. The prisoner in charge of their prison, Mauricio Valls, tortured and blackmailed them. Their prison experiences can be difficult to read, but they also lead to some shocking revelations that have repercussions decades in the future. The Prisoner of Heaven eventually returns to the late 1950s, where more surprises await. Maybe it was the Christmas setting, or maybe it was the short chapters, but the first 50 pages flew by. However, for most of the book, the subject matter becomes fairly heavy. I found it interesting that Fermin and David knew each other, in spite of the fact that they met in a corrupt and dangerous prison early in Franco's dictatorship. Fun may not be the best description of their relationship. The series feels much more coercive because of their connection. Now that we're nearing the end of the series, I'm starting to see how the books fit together. The first 2 books felt largely separate from one another. Like The Angel's Game, this novel often treads into grim territory. In contrast to the previous book's dark exploration of mental health and grief, Prison of Heaven depicts the harsh realities of suffering and pain. PTSD has been mentioned in The Shadow of the Wind. Here, we see some of the horrors he would face years later. Other mental health issues such as depression and schizophrenia also take place. The prison that Fermin and David are in is representative of the turbulent and dismissal times Spain was in at that time. This book takes place soon after Francisco Franco won the Spanish Civil War and became a fascist dictator. The dictatorship of his regime would last until 1975 and set the tone for most of this series. But in those early years, it seemed to be the most violent. I think it's important to see these issues reflected in fiction, but it can also be difficult to read. This is certainly the case with this book. Despite the fact that it's not particularly gory or gruesome, the harsh events and grim background make it more difficult to enjoy. Despite the quality, it's my least favourite in the series so far. First, The Prisoner of Heaven is the only book in the series not to be named after another fictional novel within the story. It's actually about a character named David Martin. Talking of David, I found the previous book, The Angel's Game, a little confusing. The explanation presented here radically changed my understanding of his character and of the last book. This revelation brought new meaning to The Angel's Game, which I won't reveal here. If you've liked this review, please check out our channel and subscribe. You can find many more reviews like this one on our channel from a number of different titles. Thank you for watching.